Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What people do eat no money, what they at you, eat no at you. Go be money, miss you, we eat the your little rat you. Use the youth, them money, waste my must have mantis statue. Say me like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take the spit of money, God and say that is not you. One day the man above end up in my gut up. Too much it in the kitchen, so my fly by like a pat too. My singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% raise.
It burn me.
Garbage pile up the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption face.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
Come me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no mega bigger. The 100 the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in a whatever. Member bold money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them smell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like thief when them sell.
It burn me.
Or they treat the market man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the cat man.
It burn me.
Or they treat the peanut man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the jerk man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the son man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat policeman.
It burn me.
How them a treat soldier man.
It burn me.
How them a treat everyone.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal.
Stevie dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no cape. And some informer friend we lovely. We in Global. Bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global. We not promote them. We not support them. Look at them on the cheek come here represent for. We in Global TV. Check it.
Good evening once again, and welcome to the Global Television Group. This is the People's Point of View. On our prowl and tour, I have come across another Jamaica that maybe some of you are aware existed or exists, but I have no knowledge that one more of the many Jamaicans has surfaced in my knowledge. Good evening and welcome. We are probing the Bicknell brothers. But remember, we tell Fly Green, St. Elizabeth Parish Council and Derek Sangster, we want to speak to them this evening. Something very picturesque is happening in my community. In the Mountainside Division, in the constituency of Fly Green, Southwest St. Elizabeth, a community of parity called Little Bridge. Picturesque, Mr. Green, in Jolt, Jamaica, but never mind, we will get around to now. Call the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party. Call Nigel, call Andrew, call Darrell Vaz. We have a whole flurry of probing to do tonight. Who is playing the piper? Who is playing the tune to our dancing political pipers in Jamaica? Tell them to call crowd this evening because we have some serious questions to ask Andrew Holness and Nigel Clark and Darrell Vaz and the Bicknell Tankwell brothers. Good evening and welcome. Good evening to my community of party and all my family members. Good evening to all my moderators and platform membership holders, viewers and subscribers, commenters. Good evening and welcome to the People's Point of View. Debbie Jervis, good evening and welcome. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Beat and Teach, good evening and welcome. Patricia Matthews, good evening. Good evening. I see two Debbie Jervises. I know it's the same person I trust. I don't think it's a new Debbie Jervis. It's still our North American correspondent. Sunshine, good evening and welcome. Michelle Lewis Wilson, God's gift, good evening. Patricia Matthews. Elaine Turner, Jam, good evening and welcome. Prof. Gorgeous Lady, good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining. Just bear with me. Pamela McNeil, good evening. Good evening, Paula Shelley. Good evening and welcome. Norman Ferguson, good evening. The Easy Jerk World, Manners and Respect Bro. Good evening and welcome. Good evening, Marcia Este. Good evening, EM. Good evening, Violet Watson. Good evening and welcome. Miguel King, good evening. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Why is my thing not rolling fast enough? Colleen Jones, good evening and welcome. Rose, good evening. Ladybug, good evening. Just bear with me a second, please. My system is much slower. I'm not in studios. Abinasar Cody, good evening. Raymond, good evening. Good evening all and welcome. Carla Williams, good evening. Good evening. I really don't want to miss anyone, and my system is playing me up. Anyway, good evening all and welcome. Thank you for joining us. On the thing fly green reach yet? Because remember, we're having drought in Jamaica. Drought. But look at how water wastes in Jamaica. Annie Jones. Now, this is a burst main in my community from Sunday and up until today in drought, Jamaica, in drought, St. Elizabeth, so-called, them said, where farmers are having water problem. Where even political affiliates of the Jamaica Labour Party, Fly Green, friend them. Kishore Fulton, how are you? Have to buy water and a truck water to a lot of the local people. And this is just been pouring from Sunday up until today. Nothing was done. Bear in mind, we are in drought. This is quite close along where this burst main is. There's a river just behind. I don't know which side of the road this is on, but whichever side, there's a river behind the bushes of the road there. So we call it the Castle River, Maxine Cummings. We did have our own pump. And our community, the move we pump, Christofton, was done under Christofton and Derek Sangster. Remove the pump from our community. And ever since then, Junior Gallimore, we've been facing massive water problem. Massive water problem. And look at the water wastage in a time when we're having drought and our lack of water irrigation and distribution across the country. Rather than calling it an irrigation and distribution crisis, they might make we think that we have drought. We're not having drought across Jamaica, Brittany L., Arlene Forest. We're having an irrigation and distribution crisis. The era them where rich people live water crisis down there. The water crisis era them a poor people area, rural people area, ghetto people area where tourists now go. But it's not a drought. We're having an irrigation and distribution problem. It's what our politicians have failed to do over the years. Call the politician them, the Bicknells rather, sorry. Let me share my screen because I want to bring up in the description area. There is, no, I want to share a window, Chrome tab, yeah. There is I put the link to the website for, what you call them? Tankwell. The link to Tankwell's website is in the comment area. And we're going to talk about the Tankwells. We're going to talk about Tankwell Limited. As well, we have questions to ask about Tankwell's connection, the Bicknell brothers' connection to our politics, as well as our economy. Because there seem to be a lot of shenanigans. Bear with me, my screen is freezing. I hope you can hear me. I'm not even having access to my comment area. Hold on. Oh, my things are freezing. I can't even see the comment to see if you are telling me anything. Bear with me, please. Bear with me. Bear with me, please. My system has gone AY on me. Hold on. hear me now? Yvonne Green, Carlos Green. We're hearing. Okay. Let me just get my screen back sharing so I can proceed with the Bicknells, the Bicknell brothers and their connection to our politics. Because of them seem to have played the piper and of them are called the tune. The Bicknell brothers, from my research, who owned Tankwell, got their inheritance through slavery. That Tankwell you see in Jamaica, it's one of the successes of oppression. And from my research, Tankwell business practices is as oppressive as the plantation was when it comes to small businesses, particularly the black man business. My screen is just not sharing. I may have to just abort that and talk. But the wealth, them amass out of slavery, them use it for this big enterprising. But for those of you who don't know Tankwell, are not aware of, Tankwell is the leading or biggest producer in building material supplies in Jamaica. They have their business in the Seaward Road area, I think. Seaward Drive, 27 Seaward Drive. But they have them big warehouse complex in the Waterhouse area. A major concern, though, is the Rio Buno port. Hope me I pronounce it right. Come, my pronunciation bad with that. From my research, my understanding, yes, my screen has been shared now. From problem on my end, but bear with me. We will get it sorted. I'm having technical difficulties on my end. I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? I'm back on stream. I'm having technical difficulties. I'm back on stream. Can you hear me now? Can you all hear me now? Please give me a signal if you can hear me. Hold on. Okay, thanks for that, Debbie. I will continue to talk because this thing is giving me problem. But the tank wells, that plot of land where they have their port on their own mini wharf, my understanding, they bought it from the Jamaica government for $5,000 US. A part of that land, a few years after, they sold a portion of that land to developers. There. So they bought that piece of land. I should be back now. Okay. They bought that piece of land from the government for $5 million US, $5,000 US. And after that, they sold back a portion of that land where yesterday have them port pan for $18,000 US. Bear in mind, the government sell them the entire brouhaha for $5,000 US. And then them sell back a portion to developers to develop a hotel for $18,000 US. So you see how the government just take away land and a give way. It is said one of the brothers support the Jamaica Labour Party, one support the People's National Party. Me do research upon them, me said, is these people affiliated to any gangs? So far, nothing of such, I am told. Them support young people in the community. One of them support Arnett Garden football team. The other one support and sponsor Waterhouse. Me say them also help out the old people them in the community sometime. But that's not my point of focus tonight. My point of focus is the Bicknell brothers' business practice and their political connection. Imagine such a major monopoly in the business where nobody can compete with Tankwell at Jamaica. Tankwell have their own port. Is Tankwell subjected to the ordinary import duties and everything where the rest of Jamaica business people is subjected to? From my knowledge, may he set them a law unto themselves when it come to them something there. May he set them a law upon themselves when it comes to importing. Them a duck and dive duties. Because he said they are such a monopoly in the business. If Tankwell are bringing 2 million sheet of ply in the country, Tankwell only appear import duties upon 200 of the 2 million sheet of ply. Where am I bringing to the country? How can one compete with that? How is that fair? To have such an advantage, but you still not pay import duty what the poor man subjected to. The same poor man will run for them like a hardware across the country. Still have to come to you, the Tankwell, the Bicknell brothers, come by supply college, the leading suppliers of building material. But you, the same Bigfoot elephant in the business, Tankwell, trample all over these small business, pushing them out of the market, pushing them under. Them little small hardwares across the country can't survive. Why are political leaders, past and present, allowing this to happen? Ooh, Tankwell flood money on both sides. One of the Bicknell brother is a Jamaica Labour Party supporter. The other Tankwell brother is a People's National Party supporter. So whichever party is in power, the Tankwells are playing the fiddle. Therefore, say a big private sector elephant like that, see them there, would want policies that protect them. Do you remember Nigel Clark's budget presentation the other day? Nigel Clark, just like a whole Delano, what the other murderer name, Alanda Terry Long, went on an international prowl. If that is not transformation, I don't know what it is. Come tell we how $150 issue of picking pay lunch and bus fare. I don't know why they can't calculate in a Jamaica money where they would not give them in if that is the case. But remember Nigel, he was gloating when he was reading it. if you don't have to pay import duty up to $1,000. And Nigel wants us to be happy about that, while Tankwell is not paying their fair share in import duties nor in taxes. Nigel Clark, what is your connection, Nigel Clark, to the Tankwells, to Tankwell and the Bicknell brothers? Is any of your policies benefiting Tankwell? Ooh, Darrell Vaz, I heard you have an awfully close connection, Mr. Vaz. Very close connection with one of the Bicknell brothers, or both, but very close relationship with one. It is said that these brothers pump a lot of money into both parties, but particularly the Jamaica Labour Party. It is said, Darrell Vaz, that you use $14 million to buy out Portland during the local government election. Would any of those money be donation or loan from the Bicknell brothers, from Tankwell? It is quite a relevant question to ask, is it not? Are all massa picking them? Them wealth is from all massa plunder. But the disturbing thing, I'm going to go back to what I'm saying with Darrell Vaz. But the disturbing thing with these brothers, they have a narrative in Jamaica. One, in this land grab, land war, and economic control. One we ought to be aware of. A Trumpist rallying. White is right. This is these two brothers' mantra. White is right. That signals an open reintroduction of colonization. If you don't understand what white is right means, it's an open reintroduction to colonization. So, as well as their unfair business practices, there are racism going on as well. But I want to further ask, though, with Tankwell and the Bicknell, owned by the Bicknell brothers, having their own wharf, with their wharf not subjected to national control, it would imagine him having own custom officer there. Could that be a gateway for illegal gun and drugs trafficking, particular guns, into our country? Could the Rehoboam port be a gateway for illegal activities in our country? Them have their own logistic and distribution hub. Them don't have to go to Kingston Wharf or wherever go clear anything. Them something come back up for them own something, and them take off them own something and them clear them own something themselves. Sorry, my people. So nobody no have to know when ship job alongside Rio Buena port and dock. We don't know what come after. We don't know if a building material alone in warehouse and trucks distribute across our country. I would wonder, Mr. Bicknells, if there are any shell company, but me would have been mad to ask that. If there are any shell company link to your shipping import business, Carl Andrew Holness, Beverly Forbes, good night, Barry Mariali. Just pay, borrow, lend, investment, save. Andrew Holness in Zara Burton's investigation of Holness's multi-million-dollar mansion. One of the source of Holness's mansion, it was that him trust. Could it be Prime Minister? That somebody trusting, or a lot of the trusting to build your house was done through Tankwell? Tankwell has a lot of power in our politics, an awful lot, because of their financial support to government, to politicians rather. And who really get the shitty end of the stick in all this? It's the small business men across Jamaica. The small businessmen in the building material industry, who a lot of them are customer of the same Tankwell because of their monopoly in the market. But it is this same Tankwell with its unfair business practices where there is really no competition to Tankwell. Tankwell is not really subjected to proper import duties. These businesses literally can't survive. A lot of these people cannot send their children to school, even though you see them have a business there. A lot of these small businesses in the building material industry are up to their nose economically, the way they're being swallowed up by these economic elephant in the building material industry. But the government of Jamaica shouldn't allow this to go on, though. If there's a competition market commission in Jamaica, Tankwell ought to really sell out some of its monopoly in the market, so other small businesses can grow and thrive in the market. Not only that, they must pay their fair share of taxes, as well as they must be subjected to national import duty and all the national regulation. Not in operating in Jamaica as a private entity, having your own wharf, not subjected to the Jamaica Custom Authority. So by then, that is a separate Jamaica to the Jamaica that we exist in. What is Tankwell importing into our country that we're not aware of, given that they're not subjected to? Hey, Parimariale, I wonder if Juliet and Andrew get cheaper brick from Tankwell because they write policy will support Tankwell, or they help Tankwell to evade or avoid tax, and to evade and avoid import duties. You will have to take, if Tankwell come in with 2 million sheet apply, or 200 ton of steel, our Tankwell tell you, our Tankwell want pay for, Tankwell tell you, and at that you accept, and at that Tankwell pay. But all of the little poor man them, all of the little small business, we do business with Tankwell. Tankwell writing in a Tankwell markup for distributors like him pay full import duties. So when Tankwell do all of those marking up and distribute that to the small businessman, that's extra profit for Tankwell, because Tankwell only pay import duty per 200 of the 2 million sheet apply what Tankwell bring in. So you see the unfairness in their practices, in their business practices, while they enforce the white is right in Jamaica, landless African people in your country. White people is going to come there with the white is right slogan. Do you understand that that is carte blanche racism? I really don't understand it. The government, though, the government ought to be lobbying on an issue like this because it's not good for the economy when a Tankwell alone hold the sway in the building industry. Left, right, and center, a Tankwell one, a benefit. All Tankwell I do is amassing wealth. Like it's like Tankwell have them little small hardware across the countries, which are his customer. It's like they are the drug dealing foot soldier on the street, where them just go up on street corner, go sell the drugs for the master, and care back the water money, go get the master. That I want in the Tankwell. The unfair competition, that is really a force a lot of our small business into across the country. This is something that ought to be concerned. Because Tankwell, yes, may employ around 800 people. But think about when Tankwell business stamp out a lot of these small hardwares across the country. Think about the job loss for all of those people across all of these small hardwares across building material suppliers across the country who cannot keep up with Tankwell. Tankwell can sell cheaper than anybody. And you know, say, so in the market, you look for the better price will benefit you economically. So they may pan the face, coming like say, them a businessman will care about the community or do for the community. But on the other hand, though, they are stifling other businesses. Other businesses can't grow. Other businesses cannot get off the ground because of Tankwell monopoly in the market. Our government ought to lobby ought to be lobbied to have that change. Andrew Holness and Nigel need to be questioned because now we know Nigel have so much shady dealings all over the place with taxpayers' money, with all sort of people. It is important that we ask Nigel what sort of economic deals or how Nigel can make sure. But then again, if Andrew not pay in fair share of tax and Andrew not invest in a Jamaica, Lord God, it's a terrible state of affairs. But we cannot ignore what Tankwell is doing to a lot of small businesses in the building material industry. They cannot keep up to Tankwell. Tankwell monopoly and unfair competition is destroying a lot of people's livelihood, a lot of small businesses. Our government cannot allow Tankwell only. In England, yes, so Tankwell would have been forced to sell out some shares. Them one can't control the market, so. But this is how the private sector controls their politics. This is how the Jamaica, what we call Fluid Jamaica, is still controlled by the descendant of the plantation with the plantation money, the wealth that was handed down to them from those same plantation in Jamaica. It is those money that they are using to oppress us all over again. White is right. The descendant of the oppressors. The wealth they use to invest is the wealth their ancestors gained from the plantation, that wealth which they inherit, is the same wealth they're using to control Jamaica's economy. That same wealth they're using to control Jamaica politics. That wealth allow them to lead a separate Jamaica. We cannot allow poor people to just suck out continuously, so to continuously boost just one side of the fence. For 500 years now, it's just one set of people that benefit unnoticed. For 500 years, a one set of people a benefit. One culture a benefit. One ethnicity a benefit at the disadvantage of everybody else. They did it. Now their children are doing it. They make sure they leave enough wealth so that their children and grandchildren can continue to be in control politically and economically, as they, the plantation owners and holders, were 300, 400, 500 years ago. Tankwell and Leachin play the same role to them. Yeah. And them private sector people that control Jamaica. This is why I've always said to my audience, until us, the diaspora in particular, become a big financial lobby group and take over the funding of our political parties, these private sector, a lot of them descendant of the oppressors, are always going to be in control of our politics. We have to be active and tactical. We can't allow things to continue. Adem run Tankwell, Perspective Power, the Bicknell brothers, them cheer and all sort, them own it. And them buy the piece of land down Rio Buna or in Trelawney they build them for them port. Or for them private port there so. Something have to be done. People cannot just sit in silence and just walk back into slavery like this. We still have the descendant of the slave them and dominate we to the fact that they are even becoming brazen in a Jamaica with them white is right, them Donald Trumpism. Be aware of these brothers, people. Be aware of them. Understand their connection and their influence in your politics. When we use the phrase, my Jamaica, it's all but a fluff. Because us, the descendant of the slaves, of those who were enslaved rather, we don't have no land rights in Jamaica. We don't have no economic power in Jamaica, nor do we run the politics of Jamaica, us, the descendant of the enslaved, need to come up with our own spiritual, political, and economic ideology. Where they are some, a people like them two upon screen, it serve the economic and political, because we don't have a spiritual ideology. No, we have a religious ideology. All of it serve them you see on screen and their affiliate and many other descendants of the oppressors. These two brothers have too much dominance in the building material supply. And the government ought to force them to sell some of their shares. Not only that, there ought to be more competition in the market. And they ought to also pay their fair import duties. Not only that, they ought to be subjected to all the national custom regulations as well. Portia Simpson gave them that port. As I said, it's both them own both political party, because one of the brother fund JLP, one fund PNP. Likewise, one fund Arnett Garden football team, the other fund Waterhouse football. But their business practices is damaging a lot of Black people's businesses. And that ought to be addressed. And I'm going to come back to this issue when I get back to my London studio. I'm going to continue the probe on this issue. And we're going to always continue to call out racist and unfair competition in business. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I know I have a busy day tomorrow. And I need to get some sleep, and I was busy all day today. So thank you very much for being here. Other than doing broadcasting the funeral tomorrow, I won't be doing any lives tomorrow. I'll be just broadcasting the funeral. And I'm sure people are going to force me to drink sinting, and then when that happen, all hell break loose. So, when I now go see me till we contact on a Saturday, I know Saturday I'm a day off. But me will talk to you when me wake up Saturday coming. No them are gonna force me to drink. Me know the whole of them. They are gonna force me to drink. And me I go smell the liquor and me I go turn over. But have a great weekend, all of you. And thank you all very much for your support. And we will see you definitely over the weekend period. Thank you all very much, and good night from the Global Television Group.